The streets of London buzzed with their usual chaos, double-decker buses, hurried footsteps, and the never-ending rhythm of city life. Amid the noise, in Covent Garden's cobbled square, a young man named Daniel stood clutching an old, weather-beaten guitar. His clothes were simple, his shoes worn, but his eyes carried something deeper, pain that had no words. Daniel hadn't always been a street performer. Just a year ago, he had been a rising star in a small pub band, dreaming of selling out concert halls. But life can be cruel. His mother, his biggest supporter and the only family he truly had, passed away suddenly. Her absence hollowed him, leaving him with nothing but her words echoing in his mind. "Danny, when the world feels too heavy, sing. Your voice will heal, yours and theirs." That afternoon, the square was crowded. Tourists laughed, couples strolled hand in hand, and children clutched melting ice creams. Daniel hesitated before strumming the first chord. His fingers trembled, his throat felt dry, but then he remembered his mother's words. Closing his eyes, he began to sing. His voice wasn't loud, but it was raw, aching with honesty. Every note carried fragments of his broken heart, yet also flickers of warmth, like the first sunlight after a storm. At first, only a few passers-by slowed down. Then, gradually, people stopped. A small crowd formed, drawn not by spectacle, but by the sincerity in his voice. Among them stood an elderly man in a wheelchair, his daughter pushing him gently forward. The man's eyes were distant, heavy with grief. Months ago, he had lost his wife of 50 years, and since then, he had spoken barely a word. Life for him had turned colorless. But as Daniel's voice floated through the square, aching, tender, full of unspoken love, the man's eyes filled with tears. His lips trembled. For the first time in months, he whispered, "Beautiful." His daughter froze, stunned. She hadn't heard him speak in weeks. She squeezed his hand, tears streaming down her face. She turned to Daniel, silently mouthing, "Thank you." Daniel, unaware of the miracle unfolding, sang on. His song carried stories of loss and resilience, of hearts that break but still find ways to mend. People in the crowd began crying softly. Strangers reached for each other's hands. A young boy let go of his mother's phone and simply listened, his wide eyes reflecting awe. For those few minutes, London's rush slowed down, and the square became something sacred. When Daniel finally strummed the last note, silence lingered before the crowd erupted in applause. But it wasn't the kind of applause given to street performers, it was deeper, filled with gratitude. Many stepped forward, dropping not just coins, but folded notes, little messages, and even small trinkets. One woman pressed a red rose into his hand, whispering, "For your mother, wherever she is." Daniel's throat tightened. He bowed his head, unable to speak. For the first time in months, he didn't feel alone. As the crowd slowly dispersed, the elderly man's daughter wheeled him closer. She looked at Daniel with shining eyes. "I don't know what you did," she said softly, "but my father just spoke for the first time since my mum passed. He said your voice was beautiful." Daniel's eyes widened. His chest ached, but this time it wasn't from grief, it was from something he hadn't felt in a long while. Hope. He knelt beside the man, gently taking his frail hand. "Music has a way of reaching places words can't," Daniel whispered. The man smiled faintly, tears slipping down his cheeks. "Keep singing, son. The world needs voices like yours." That night, Daniel walked along the Thames, the city lights shimmering on the water. He carried his guitar, but this time it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a gift. His mother's words echoed again, "Your voice will heal." He finally understood. Singing wasn't just about chasing dreams or filling the silence of his grief. It was about giving, about touching lives, reminding people they weren't alone in their pain. From then on, Daniel played every evening in Covent Garden. Crowds grew, but he never sang for fame. He sang for the lonely, the grieving, the ones carrying silent battles. And slowly, he healed too, note by note, soul by soul. Because sometimes, the greatest miracles don't happen on big stages under bright lights. Sometimes, they happen in the heart of a busy city, where one broken voice dares to sing, and in doing so, helps others find the strength to live again.